Tonight, in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on ÉQUINOXE television, we talk upcoming presidential election in Cameroon. President Paul Biya's technical advisor, Christian Penda Ekoka, that rallies behind Professor Maurice Kamto to unseat the current government in Cameroon. After being a renowned critic of the current regime, Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekindi on his part says that Paul Biya remains the ideal candidate. He's equally rallying behind President Paul Biya. Plus, Redax says that dialogue is not a priority to President Paul Biya and that even if he's re-elected into office, he's not going to be seeking solutions to the current crisis in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Those are top stories. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. A sincere apologies for the briefs or the late start of the news. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on ÉQUINOXE television. If we have the interest of Cameroonians at heart, we cannot afford to let the country sink under the current regime. Those are the words of Christian Penda Ekoka, advisor, the presidency of the Republic, as he unveiled his choice and favorite amongst the 9 contenders involved in the race to A2D. Christian Penda Ekoka declared that because of his commitment, his detailed and outstanding manifesto and his presence on the field at all times, he is rallying behind Professor Maurice Kamto, who is the presidential candidate of the Cameroon Renaissance movement. He believes in his ideologies. He equally believes in the ideologies of other opposition party leaders. He says that the essential at this point in time is for change to be in Cameroon after the 7th of October presidential election in Cameroon. Let's hear him in the following excerpt. He was speaking in a press conference in Yaoundé today.
Notre choix et le choix des tiers, c'est Maurice Kamto. Et sur cette base, nous avons décidé de lui apporter tout notre soutien. My dear compatriot from the southwest and the if I came to this decision to support the candidacy of Maurice Kamto, we went through a screening process of all the candidacy. We used a number of criteria, including field occupation, frequency of the meetings, programs, and experience, but especially the willingness and determination of the candidate to transform and modernize Cameroon. Because this is the critical issue. We have been suffering, you have been suffering, you have gone through all those humiliations, all those years, all those hardships, just because of lack of leadership, lack of institutional leadership, lack of strong leadership. We believe that on the October the 7th, this is an opportunity for you to make history. On the 7th of October, you have a meeting with your fate, with your destiny, with your history. Let's make it happen by choosing Maurice Kamto. But it's not about any triumphalism. All the candidates have merits. We have gone through this screening process. I'm just inviting them to come together, because together we will win. United, we will win. Divided, it may be difficult. But still, we believe in it. Let's believe in ourselves. And I'm strongly and particularly happy that we are seeing those young people, Cabral Libi and Serge Espoir Matomba, as the young generation to take over. And we are very proud of them. We are very proud of what they have achieved. As for Akeremuna and Joshua Oshi, I know them. Those are people of great value. I know they will be able to put their own personal ambition, below the general interest of the country. That's why I'm exhorting them that we should come together. We should change the paradigm. We should make it happen. We should make another nation happen. a more inclusive nation, a stronger kind of leadership to achieve exactly what we want to achieve. Let's not endure life like if there's no solution, there's no hope. We want to give hope to the hopeless and voice to the voiceless, because that's the only way we can make it. This will be our best legacy for the future generations. I'm sure that this is the real moment of defining. This is a moment of reckoning. United, we will win. Once more, united, we will win. Let's.
That is Christian Penda Ekoka, the advisor, the presidency of the Republic of Cameroon, rallying behind Professor Maurice Kamto. And it is taking place at the time when President Paul Biya's advisor, or at the time when his advisor is calling for change in power. Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekindi says that the CPD and presidential candidate remains the ideal leader for Cameroonians. Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekindi has qualified the head of state as competent and experienced enough to tackle the social, political and economic problems plaguing the country. Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekindi of the MP political party has always been a renowned critic of the current regime. During his last outing, he called on opposition party leaders in Cameroon to rally behind the president of the Republic, or behind, to fight the current regime. That was during his outing, which took place here in the country's economic capital, Douala. And onto something else. The senior divisional officer for Vori Division, Bertrand Maché, has held a press conference with regards to the venue of the rally of Cabra Libi at Stade Sikam here in the economic capital, Douala. It should be noted that there was a little bit of problems as far as granting him authorization in the said rally is concerned. The senior divisional officer noted that the problem lies between the management of Stade Sikam in the Douala 5 subdivision and members or officials of the Univer political party, that Cabra Libi is actually the presidential candidate, and the rally was supposed to take place on the 23rd of September 2018, but management at Stade Sikam indicated that he is supposed to obtain an authorization from the right headquarters. The senior divisional officer held the press conference today and indicated that management of Stade Sikam is supposed to handle the matter with members of Univer political party. And just a note before we go, that members of Univer have maintained that they are going to be holding the said rally on the 23rd of September after campaigns have officially been launched across the national territory. We now talk about something else. The Network for the Defense of Human Rights in Central Africa, known in its French acronym as REDAC, has said that even if President Paul Biya is re-elected, he would not be able to bring lasting solutions to the Anglophone crisis. Officials of REDAC who spoke in Douala today said that a free, fair and transparent election is not possible when the organ in charge of electoral process is controlled by the current regime. Barrister Alice Com added that Elekam is simply out to secure the interest of the current regime, which to her would be compromising for the country's future. Let's hear her in the following excerpt. She was speaking to Equinox Television.
We want to warn our government to stay in the middle, our administration, which is his place, to be in the middle of this process, to credibilize it, which is not what we are seeing today, because we have the proof that our administration is not neutral. They are just doing, they are just working for the president candidate. Yeah, they are his employees. They are at the service, not at the service of the democracy, of the service of what it should be. They have a lot of problem to be neutral, and this is compromising the day next after elections, and it's compromising the future of our country, because the next president is the one who is supposed to bring back serenity, bring back the peace, and bring back all the people of Cameroon together. And we are insisting, so we must have election. It is their own interest to do that. They want this election to be credible, to be they want even international to recognize the fairness of the election, and they won't have it. They won't have it if they continue to refuse what is so obvious to me.
That is Barrister Alice Com, the board chair of REDAC, and the board chair equally indicated that the head of state is not an advocate of dialogue and peace as claimed. She accused the president of using guns to silence innocent people in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, adding that lives are being lost on a daily basis as a result of the current situation. Let's hear her in the following excerpt once again.
But how can he think that people will forget about all these bloody things which are happening today in our country? How can you take the boat Cameroon in an ocean of blood and think that you will bring stability tomorrow? Nobody will forget. The history will not forget. It is a pure massacre in this part of Cameroon. And what is really amazing is that nobody in the administration or leaders seems to care about, but they are Cameroonian. How can you be so indifferent of what is happening there? Saying, okay, we will continue, we will go, we will be re-elected, etc. To me, I'm sure that we cannot have anything from the president because he's the one who doesn't even pronounce the word dialogue. He's the one who is the chief of armies, who is still giving orders to massacre people. There must be science by the guns, not through a dialogue. So what do you want me to expect before that? He will go up to his plan, and maybe once elected, he will try to say, okay, you come. You cannot have a dialogue with someone who doesn't want to speak.
He has been in office for 6 months now, but his actions and decisions are countless. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, has been described as the most active member of government on the field, but how effective are his measures? Babla Jonathan presents an answer in the following story.
Since his appointment as Minister of Territorial Administration of Cameroon, Atanganji Paul has taken a number of decisions and actions cutting across the socio-political and economic life of the nation. He has backtracked on some decisions taken pending implementation or full implementation. Minister Atanganji Paul banned the circulation of firearms in 6 regions of the country, but later came back to his decision and lifted the ban after arms dealers argued that they were not in any way connected to the supply of weapons to pro-independence fighters in the northwest and southwest regions. Another decision taken by the Territorial Administration Minister concerns the on-the-ground implementation of President Paul Biya's emergency aid plan to persons internally and externally displaced by the Anglophone crisis. He announced the effective implementation of the project, and weeks later, it started in Peka Vincent on the outskirts of Douala, followed by the handing over of basic needs to some displaced persons out of the thousands by at most 2 administrative officials in the northwest and southwest regions. Since then, the operation has witnessed a dead silence. In his outing in Douala as Minister of Territorial Administration, Atanganji Paul gave commercial bike riders deadline to ensure that they are functioning in conformity to rules and regulations governing the transport sector. And several months after the deadline expired, he comes back to Douala, meets with the same bike riders, many of whom are still functioning in illegality. He praises them and receives a motion of support to President Paul Biya from them, and leaves without saying a word on the instructions he had given earlier.
And before we talk about something else, church leaders in Cameroon have issued a release calling for an end to hostilities, kidnappings and killings in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. They addressed the message to the government of Cameroon, the defense forces, and the Ambazonian fighters, as well as Cameroonians in general. It should be noted that they have equally indicated that there is need for peace to return and dialogue to be given pride of place. The information is contained in a joint communique that was published yesterday in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. We, of course, will be coming back to that in our subsequent newscast. On to something else. Inhabitants of Makepe Petipeye locality in the Douala 5 subdivision have been reassured that the construction work of drainage in the area is going to be halted. It is after they demonstrated because of the construction or because of the project, and they say that it was affecting their day-to-day activities. Simanji Kangebru tells us more in the following report.
Makepe Petipeye neighborhood, Thursday. These disgruntled inhabitants came out in their numbers to say no to the illegal construction of a drainage in their neighborhood. According to these inhabitants, the initial direction that the drainage was supposed to take has been missed, putting them in danger.
The gutter was not being built at the way it was supposed to help the population. As time goes on, we keep fighting. That the work that they are doing is not good for the population. Finally, the contractor, he decided to come down and look, but it is not completely work because it did not see where that water, the rainwater was coming from.
The outing this Thursday saw the immediate response from the city council boss, who sent an official to the construction site to listen to the cry of the population, after which a decision was arrived at. The drainage construction will have to stop for the time being at the end of the meeting.
We are happy because he has taken a decision to do normally as the population wanted. So for now, they have promised us that we should wait, we should give them a little bit of time to put things together and arrange as it's going to please all of us. So we thank God for that one. That one part has passed. Now we are now waiting for them to do their own work.
But at the time the Equinox television crew left the scene, workers of the construction company were spotted returning to the construction site.
And a huge consignment of illicit drugs worth millions of francs CFA have been seized from illegal hands by custom officials in the east region of Cameroon and set ablaze. It should be noted that the move, according to health promoters, is to save the lives of the local population. Innocent as it tells us more in the following report.
These illicit drugs were seized from illegal hands during a custom operation. Among these includes contraband cigarettes, expired liquor, non-biodegradable plastic papers, untreated mosquito bed nets, and above all, 81,200 packs of tramadol. In addition, 10 kilograms of marijuana.
Lorsqu'on consomme des médicaments qui sont impropres à la consommation.
Officials of the East Regional Fund for Health Promotion note that consuming such contraband drugs, the patients risk dying with the disease they suffer from, which might not be treated, risk of complications at all levels.
À la vie même des individus.
The seizure, which is not the last, according to the custom boss for the East region, aims at securing the economic sector and firmly supporting the Ministry of Public Health attains its goal, protecting health of citizens.
And Cameroon's Minister of Sports and Physical Education has instructed the Italian company charged with the construction of the Olympic Stadium in Yaoundé to multiply efforts and submit the project before the end of December 2018. He criticized the slow pace at which the project is being executed. It was during a supervision mission to the site yesterday in Yaoundé. Innocent Aze once again has the details.
Pierre Ismail Bidungpat, Minister of Sport and Physical Education, pays an inspection visit at the Olympic Stadium construction site. First thing that caught his attention was that the section to support the roof advances normally. But he also noticed delay to get the pitch and other facilities ready. Worried about this, The Sports and Physical Education Board instructed the contractors to do everything humanly possible to ensure the stadium is ready before the December 31st deadline to keep the confidence Cameroon will host the 2019 AFCON. According to the contractors, there is nothing to worry about as the pitch will begin witnessing its construction as from November 1st.
La date de démarrage est prévue au 1er novembre.
The project controller, Benoit Fab, assures with all materials available, the stadium will be completed before the deadline.
De façon à aller très vite, donc entre 1 mois et demi et 2 mois, on montera le stade pour qu'il soit prêt le 31 décembre.
As concerns mounting of seats, the Italian company demands for patience until the roofing is complete.
Préparer effectivement tous les trous et tous les boulons pour accrocher les sièges.
Benoit Fab clarifies the seats are not supposed to be installed before roofing the stadium. Putting the chairs will as well pose no problem.
Aujourd'hui, on prépare tout, donc il y a encore quelques boulons à mettre, etc.
The minister asked contractors to multiply efforts to realize the project not only before the deadline, but to meet CAF's standards and conformity.
De poursuivre la mise en œuvre des recommandations faites par les experts de la CAF lors de la 3e visite d'inspection.
The inspection team, led by Minister Pierre Ismaël Bidungpat, also mounted pressure on the engineers to construct the annex stadia on time.
And the Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon that qualify for the finals of the Women's Championship COSAFA taking place in South Africa. The senior female team beat their counterpart, that is Zambia, Thursday 1-0 in the semi-finals of the set competition that began barely a few days ago. Cameroon takes on host nation, that is South Africa, which actually trashed the Uganda 2-0. That was today. That is that for this edition of the news on Equinox Television. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye. Stay tuned to programs on Equinox Television. Good evening.